வணக்கம் நண்பர்களே, இது உங்கள் வேற பள்ளிச்சாமி. நம்ம யூபிஎஸ்சி சிவில் சர்வீஸ் எக்ஸாம் 2025-26 இன்டர்வியூ டிரான்ஸ்கிரிப்ட் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கோம். அந்த வகையில இந்த ஒரு எபிசோடு, இது மாதிரி எபிசோட் லாஸ்ட் கடந்த ஒரு 3 ஆண்டுகளா செஞ்சுட்டு இருக்கோம். இந்த வீடியோ நம்ம பார்க்க போறது ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் எலக்ட்ரிக்கல் இன்ஜினியரிங், பட் ஃபர்தரா வந்து ஐ திங்க் இஸ் ஃப்ரம் ஒடிசா. அண்ட் நமக்கு தெரியும், ஸோ 2025 ஏப்ரல் மெயின் 2 ஸ்டேஜும் தாண்டி 2025 டிசம்பர்ல இருந்து நேர்முக தேர்வு டெல்லியில யூபிஎஸ்சி பவன் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ இந்த ஸ்கிரிப்ட் நம்ம எதுக்கு பார்க்குறோம் அப்படின்னா, ஸோ பின்னாடி ஃபியூச்சர் வந்து சிவில் சர்வீஸ் பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறவங்க, ப்ரெசெண்டாக ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணுறவங்க, அப்புறம் அகடமிஷியன் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாருக்குமே ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு ஃபீலிங் இருக்கும். ஐஏஎஸ் எக்ஸாம் என்ன, சிவில் சர்வீஸ் எக்ஸாம் என்ன, இந்த மாதிரி கேள்விகள் என்ன மாதிரி கேள்விகள் கேட்குறாங்க, இந்த கேள்விகளுக்கு எப்படி பதில் சொல்றது அப்படின்னு. ஸோ அந்த விதமான கேள்விகளை பற்றி நம்ம இதில் பார்க்குறோம். So we'll see that. And name Shroud and date 24/2/2025. Board Ajay Kumar sir. Detail application form Odisha, Odisha Revenue Service and Odisha Renewable Energy Development Agency and Vedanta, Balco, Bhubaneswar, Mayurpanch Electrical Engineering. Right. And chairman sir. So brief monologue on my DAF and then about jobs and education. So it was just only brief monologue. It was he just went through it and then he was speaking. So then question started. You have studied electrical engineering and worked in electrical engineering sector for so long, and why the sudden change to revenue administration? So what is the issue with the solar energy in terms of grid stability? What is the issue with the solar energy in terms of grid stability? What are the steps taken to address such issues? Why do you transmit electricity in high voltage, and how is an HVDC line so important in the news? HVD, I think high voltage direct current. I don't know. So do you know the HVDC projects are being done? So tell me about the role of transmission utilities and what is the role of Power Grid Corporation of India and the state utility, right? So what is smart grid? How does it help to deal with the new age issues in transmission? Then first member, so couldn't answer that convincingly for what he was looking for, monologue king. So monologue king means so the person really explaining continuously on, something is explaining, but so based on explanation, you will ask questions. So that's what that monologue which we have been explaining in detail. And you work as a revenue officer, and tell me how can artificial intelligence can help in revenue administration. Some to and fro on this. I spoke digitization and Naxa project, but he wanted something hard AI. So, right. So how do you remove corruption from the revenue administration? Spoke from Odisha's experience. And do you think that the people involved in revenue administration themselves don't want transparency? So how can we make it faceless like IT regime? Spoke with Ajay sir and I got a TDS claim of ₹2 yesterday only, and he laughed. Gave a generic answer and set time as a digital intervention speak up. It has potential to become faceless. So it has become a potential to become a faceless. As a collector, so how do you approach the land acquisition issues? Then sudden shift to Vedanta and Balco Aluminium. So what was your role in Vedanta? How is the processing of bauxite done? Has everyone tried exploring refining Indian bauxite in the Middle East and getting refined in alumina from there? So I tried convincing him it can be cost prohibitive considering shipping cost and import duties, etc. But he doubled down and he declined. So I am not aware of such measures, but it had been viable and it would surely have been explored. Why is welding of aluminium not done? So I cannot get steel chair welded at Lajpat, but I never see a aluminium getting welded and I have to repurchase the entire structure. So tried convincing him that welding temperature is much higher than the melting point of aluminum. So, but usko welding karwana hai case. So, right? This scientific and based on engineering question. Then why is some not developing technology of weld aluminum? And answered, surely he had made technology, but it's not prevalent due to cost effectiveness. So that may be the reason. Then second member is a lady. So what is the role of Orida? And in your role in Orida? Okay. So Orida deals with rooftop systems, and why so much focus on RTS? So what is the share of renewable energy in the Odisha's power sector? Made a blender saying 1 gigawatt in 130 gigawatt instead. So instead of 13 gigawatt. So why such low penetration? So what is all about Orida doing? So that means like Orissa, it's like Orida means like Orissa Renewable Energy Development Agency. That right. Doing increase a share of it renewable in Odisha. Said it's moving away from solarization of government building and making solar parks unused lands for megawatt scale projects, but issues exist as evacuation of infrastructures are not enough to justify building projects. So what is the current situation of Odisha and then the sector? So do you want to work on immediately if sent on ground and health and tribal upliftment? You suggested differences in tribes of North and South Odisha. Elaborate. So North, much more mainstreamed and better access to government schemes. In South, KBK, geographically isolated hilly terrain, trust deficit with government and more PVDGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups that are PVDGs. Then why is there a trust deficit? So that's just my own experience of working with Raigada mining projects, and people oppose it vehemently and see any government message with suspicion, lied through the skin of teeth. So how can we rebuild the trust? How can we rebuild the trust? In such scenario, how does Odisha remain attractive to those who seek mining opportunities? I said, irrespective of what happens in Odisha, will always remain attractive. But the question is that whether people are open to such projects or other land given past experience. So third member, he says, Hadoos, so fumbled lot here. Very tough, that's meaning, Hadoos. So what do you mean that criminal justice system? What do you mean by criminal system? Criminal justice system. You missing two important components and upon being hinted, said jail administration, maybe based on this first question. So how you ever been in jail? So have you been ever jail? Started laughing and then chairman gave a stern look at, and he stopped. So what were your observations when you visited jail? So he said high number of people with the petty crimes and POCSO cases. I don't even see POCSO as a relevant provision anymore unless it's explicit rape. So what else type of criminals you saw? Said many theft, robbery under trials and murder convicts, and agreed said so many cases where people kill each other in anger. I suggested yes, many cases of crime of past were there. So he elaborated and talked a bit about that. So what do you think that issue in jail overcrowding and large number of under trials? How do you address such issues? Suggested having a more lenient and bail provisions. All the Chief Justice of India, like CJS, keep saying that bail is a norm, and why doesn't it translate into on ground? Said the district judges are skeptical of bail, fear of the public judging them, as there is a vicious cycle of prosecution, defense, and judges trying to keep such in jail and not out. So what is the difference between a central and district jail? And answered partially correct. So what do you think the corruption that happens in government offices? So officers पैसा इसलिए खाते हैं किसकी और खिला सके. So that means யார் எதுக்கு அவங்க வாங்குறாங்கன்னா இன்னொருத்தருக்கு யாருக்காவது கொடுக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்காக அப்படிங்கிற மீனிங். So do you agree with the statement? I said I do agree, sir, but I have seen many such instances where such cases happen. Again he laughed and asked the next member. அவங்க சாப்பிட்றதுக்கு இல்லை மற்ற ஆளுக்கு கொடுக்கறதுக்கு அப்படின்னு பேசியிருக்கோம். And fourth member. So after independence, 3 cities were designated as a modern cities in planned manner. So what are these? So I said I know the 2, Bhubaneswar and Chandigarh, and he added that it's Gandhinagar. So 3 cities. And what do you want to tell us? The Bhubaneswar is a planned city. So told him how government of Odisha then had a plan to new administrative capital of Odisha and Cuttack as a residential hub. Then he went to Punjab as a governor and envisaged Chandigarh based on ideas gained from the Bhubaneswar. So what differences do you find a planned and unplanned city? So I took example of Bhubaneswar and Cuttack and suggested how roads and municipal administration priority differ and how certain community occupy certain areas and old cities and ghetto association. But in the new cities spread me much more liberal, and he added that amenities are not that far off in new cities. So do you think the smart city initiatives was success? So do you know Pipli? They answered in the ad and Raghuraj. So what do you like about Sri Jagannath culture? As a Bengali guy who grew up in Odisha, don't you have some kind of cognitive dissonance when you see issues like Rasgulla controversy? Was answering that, and chairman intervened and said some almost 40 minutes it's over, and then member abruptly stopped. So I didn't realize whether the interview was over or not. Then the lady member said, done, aap ja sakte ho. So might have missed 1 or 2 questions. And overall he says like overall marks almost all major ones, and real board questions were not at all similar to that of those who asked in mocks, and rather than ChatGPT Pro helped more predicting than the mocks. Overall, I felt it was very average interview in terms of how I answered and how I could have answered, and I felt better in mocks than the real one, right? So this all happens. So thank you very much for listening. We'll come up with one more transcript as a video. So thank you.
வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தா லைக் பண்ணுங்க, ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க, கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க, பெல் ஐக்கன் பிரஸ் பண்ண மறந்து போயிடாதீங்க. அப்பதான் நாங்க போஸ்ட் பண்ற வீடியோவோட நோட்டிபிகேஷன் உங்களுக்கு வரும்.